Hey Griff, we did it. We made it to 30 patrons. We're releasing double episodes of Gundam.
That's right. This time, if you can help us get up to 60 patrons, we're going to go ahead and start uploading double episodes of Gundam Seed. So if you love watching Gundam as much as us, head on over to our Patreon link at the link below and sign up today. Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to our Stone Face Reactions. I'm Griffin, that's Theta, and we're here watching some more Gundam Seed. We got some comments here today, so let's see what people got to say. First comment here is Zero Herrera from Crossroads saying, Lacuse did have some authority as a memorial delegate, though we have to acknowledge that she does have the benefit of being the chairman's daughter, while at the same time being a popular figure among the populace of the plans and among the soldiers of zaft. She has a mix of power that she suddenly decided to make use of, stunning the zaft officers, probably because that was something she never did before, and they had always assumed she wouldn't use, particularly to assist an alliance ship. Rao is used to doing whatever he wants and apologizing after the fact, not having his authority challenged in the moment. Aside from the political mess that ignoring her could have started, he probably recognized that the best course of action was to get her out of the battle as quickly as possible so he could get back to his old tricks without anyone being in a position to challenge him again. I will say that I like the fact that it was youngsters who decided to act, particularly the former residents of Heliopolis. Kira, Baralia, and Sai were all raised in an orb colony, so they all have a more balanced and outsider view of the war, rather than having been shaped by the military conflict themselves. It was a dangerous thing that they did, which clearly was destined to lead to their deaths, until Lacuse herself intervened, having seen for herself that there are good people on the Archangel that don't deserve to die, just so she could live.
Wait. Before we finish this comment, was Kira, sorry, does it say he was born or raised on Heliopolis?
They were all raised in an orb colony.
Right. Huh.
He was younger when he was not on it, and then he moved over later, is what I seem to remember.
Well, I'm more leaning towards the fact that we know that his parents are on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So,
Yeah.
when did they move to Earth? Did he move from Earth? So that's what I'm thinking. It's like, wait a second, because this is a plot point that's brought up that Kira's parents are somewhere else. And it's like, wait.
Yeah, I don't think the show so far has given us like a fully definitive set of like, here are his parents, here's exactly how his backstory went. We've been kind of glazing over that recently, I think.
Well, I guess if he's like in Amuro stand-in, then at some point he's gonna get into a "you don't love me" anymore with his mother.
Looking forward to that one. I like that this episode already established that framework for how the series' conflict can be resolved when the power that is in the hands of the warmongering leadership of both factions is passed on to younger generation who desire peace. Sadly, not everyone who is young on either side is driven by a desire to see the conflict end, as we are about to see in the coming episodes. Just because you know the destination you want to reach doesn't mean the path you're on will get you there.
Also, I don't think age matters at all to that argument.
Well, I mean, it's about the changing of the guard, more or less, is what they're talking about, right?
Right. But that's what indoctrination is for. Right? There's plenty
We see
of...
a little bit more of that on the zaft side with the people who are soldiers. We see, who's the character again? I gotta remember the name. There we go. Atherin and the other three Gundam pilots are all pretty young, but they're all basically there to do what Zaft wants, right?
Well, I mean, that's not a good representation. Because sorry, I would say youths, my cousin Vinny.
Mm-hmm.
The youths on the zapped side are all soldiers. We don't see anybody outside of maybe Lacuse that's not a soldier, versus all of our youths on the Alliance side, I would say, or on the Alliance side, are not soldiers. So literally, It's not a fair comparison. Give us a bunch of non-soldiers on the zaft side, or show us a bunch of youth soldiers on the Alliance side.
I mean, I guess we technically have that in our main cast, the youth soldiers anyway, but I guess Lacuse is our representation of all of the non-Zaft coordinators as like a whole, because she's just there in the moment as a mouthpiece. So that's our whole impression of them right now, is through Lecuse, who also, as we mentioned, is a superstar whose father is in politics, and also she has like specific authority as like a delegate of some kind. She has like massive power to sway people's opinions. So I guess we could say whatever Lecuse says she believes is what we can expect like general populace maybe to believe, because she's just so popular.
I don't know. She's a standout. That makes her not a good perspective piece because again, it's well, what I was thinking while you were saying your thing was that these are not equivalent corollaries to one another. One is clearly the militant perspective, and it's the entire perspective we get from the youths of one side. The other side is the pacifist perspective, and it's the entire youth perspective we get from the other side at the start of show. I mean, now Lecuse, the argument I would make against Lecuse being perspective is the fact that she seems so separated from everyone, but also there are two series I want to reference here. Legend of the Galactic Heroes, where our perspective is the High Admiralty and above, which is well beyond the common man.
Oh, yeah.
And, say, Crest of the Stars, or Banner of Stars, which is the same point of view as, say, Legend of the Galactic Heroes, but from the normal person's perspective. What do they think is going on in the same kind of soap opera?
Given we're watching one of those, I'm just imagining like being in Legend of the Galactic Heroes, hearing like, oh yeah, there's a space battle that's changing the face of the entire galaxy. I just look around at my farm and go, does that change anything here?
Well, I mean, that's literally a thing we've brought up before when we were talking about the
scope.
well, the people in the Empire side who have just been relegated to a planet that are farmers who are starving, and I don't think they'd recognize an Alliance uniform if it showed up, because they haven't heard about these rebels or seen one in over 100, 200 years. So it's just another
they had
imperial.
An even longer timeline, didn't they? Like 1,000? No,
well, they've been at war with the Alliance for over 150 years. Is the point, but. That's my point, is that Lecuse is like if Beyonce showed up to give you her perspective on the war. Certainly,
funny you should mention that, because High Priest from Crossroads says, imagine Taylor Swift and the President's daughter fused into one person. That's the kind of clout Lecuse has. I felt that was a great time to drop it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, I guess, see, it tells you I'm not reading ahead. But, that's my point, is that Taylor Swift, while being a young person, is not your point of view for the random American of her age. She is outside the scope, right? She has privileged position, shall we say. I think we're losing all our Swifties here, but my point...
It's fair to say that she's rich, alright?
Yeah, my point being is that I don't think... Also, yeah, like they said, President's daughter. She also is privileged in that position, that her father is on the ruling council. So, I don't think we can take her. Which means we have two disparate opinions from two different sides of the battle. We need youth soldiers. We need youth soldiers, and not our volunteer soldiers that have been our Heliopolis people. We need a completely independent viewpoint from... I guess that's going to be our people that we just met last episode. Actually, now that I think about it. This is where
I want to give props to Double O. Because, like, when I'm thinking here, I'm thinking, all right, we need to see, like, the plants and, like, what they think about it. We need to, like, have a scene where they're, like, having a protest or something. They're, like, violently suppressed. And I'm like, all right, but the way we're set up, we needed to be a character. And I just think, all right, Double O did this. They had a character who's just the civilians, who are just there to hang out and give you that perspective. It's like, that worked out really well over there. And it'd be nice if it was, like, happening over here, too, because we'd get more info, right?
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's all I really need to see to, like, abate that opinion at all would be, again, Alliance soldiers and zaft civilians. That's all I would really need. Unfortunately, we don't spend a lot of time with the zaft, and when we do, it's for the military stuff. The only time
Right.
we've ever seen zapped civilians was Janus 7 bombing in a flashback, where literally children were sent off into the worst space mission ever. You know, that or just proving Xeon from another universe correct that we need fences around our space stations.
If
But-
only you put up a white picket fence around it.
But
All right.
despite the fact that the war is going badly for the Alliance, we haven't seen child soldiers other than being referenced to until now.
Yeah. So I guess that's another pin to put onto the, hey, what war crimes are they hand-waving today kind of deal. But I guess before we get too deep into that, let's go to the recap real quick, where last episode was Burning Clouds of Sand, where the Archangel is attacked by multiple TMF/A802 Bucky units. Kira hastily takes off and fights the Zaft forces, but he's unfamiliar with the desert environment. His ability to adapt amazes the Zaft's commander, Andrew Waltfield. When the strike is about to run out of power, a resistance group comes to his aid and lures the remaining Bucky units into an explosive trap. So, random thought. I can't think of any other Gundam series where the machines run out of power. Can you? I think maybe Double O, but that's more like that was less like they run completely out of power and more they stop being invincible, right?
I think it's the solar furnace. No, the solar furnace is perpetual. I believe that's that. I think maybe they run out of particles specifically.
Yeah, they run out of the particles that let them do the special things. Essentially,
I know.
they still obviously fly after
Team Throne. I don't recall them anymore. The Throne team specifically would run out of their red shit, but I don't really recall any instances. I don't know how many do we have to pull on. Which from Mercury doesn't really, because Permit is just everywhere and it's not even used to power anything.
IBO doesn't. G Gundam doesn't. Any other ones? No, that's it. I think
comes up.
But I guess the thing that it's reminding me the most of is actually Evangelion, where the main context to the tension of any episode was, hey, if you get into a fight, you have this many minutes to make it happen. And that's a pretty easy convention to just add tension to a scene. Here, I feel like this thing entirely exists so we can keep having that happen. Anytime we think Kira could probably win, you increase the tension by saying, but Kira, you're running out of power.
Well, I guess technically it happens to the battle pack more so than it does the Gundam.
True. I guess
it has happened once to the Gundam. I think I made fun of it fully for that because they did a Hail Mary pass where they shot the battle pack at him. It's well, how does he mount it if he has no power? You know? But yeah, no, I mean, that puts it in line then with OG Gundam, right? Yeah. Amuro constantly runs out of shots on his gun because his gun is just a power pack, really.
Yeah. So I think that's a fun thing to keep in mind for all of this, but we do have some more characters to look at then, starting, I suppose, with Walton. Where is he?
Well, you gotta segue us, Griff. You gotta segue us. I'm not looking at the board. You have to segue us, man.
All right, we're gonna segue over to the board. I'm getting on my segue. It automatically writes me to upright, and here we are now on the board. So we have Andrew and what I can only call his assistants. I'm drawing in black like a fool.
Oh, I was really disappointed in myself because I thought I just disconnected lines. And I didn't draw it all the way.
What the fuck I can really mess with you that way. Oh, I'm not gonna.
I would just revoke your editor status. That's all that would happen.
So yeah, I guess the best way I would describe Martin here is just as the assistant, right? He was the other person hanging around with Andrew, making color commentary and delivering coffee, while Waldfield, went on and, was actually being the character.
I was
right?
gonna argue the whole assistant angle, but until you said the whole getting him coffee thing, I was like, yeah, you're right, I guess. That's the
The
description of an assistant.
but fun point, Waldfield is also an utter coffee fiend, apparently, so it's like that's gonna keep being a recurring thing. And I wonder if they're gonna like actually make it a motif of any kind. He is, of course, connected to the hierarchy. I think, according to this, he would be at roughly the same level as Rao here, or at least not below him. I don't think.
I have
I
no
don't know.
idea. See, the whole thing
Yeah.
is that the zaft uniforms denote your rank.
Mhm.
So, put him
He
on the
might just
green
be in a
level
different
because
branch
Martin
because he's
here
an
is wearing the
orange.
same green stuff, but this guy isn't wearing any,
Mhm.
wasn't wearing any real colors. So I just, the hierarchy comes down, and normally it goes just right to Rao because he's like on site, the highest level. But I've just tied him in. Whatever
Yeah.
orders are coming down, they just over to wall Andrew.
Theoretically, there are 3 of his soldiers somewhere out here, but they are dead now, so we don't care anymore. They will not be returning. They will not be referenced, right?
I have no idea.
Well, I'm pretty sure he's not going to mention all 3 of them by name and go, it's like, I knew each of them for several years. I'm going to have to go visit each of their families now. And it's like, that's not the story we're in, right?
As far as I know, they weren't named, which is why they're not here.
And then all the way on the opposite side, with a line drawn all the way from A to B, we now have our rebel group. Our independent Earth fighters who are here with Cagalia, which we have not seen
You
for.
mean Cagalli? There's no A at the end of that.
Is it Cagalli? Yeah, there you go. We haven't seen her for like 10 episodes, I think, right?
Or Katha. That's a double H.
I'm gonna call her Notorious CYA, I guess. I don't know,
Or
whatever.
Yule if you want. Yula.
Uh, and then we have our 3 side characters here, which show up, but I don't have a distinct impression of them. Like, do you? Do you remember them doing like anything very specific?
With
Or saying anything?
the 3 other people, no. She did everything in that episode that
Mhm.
I recall seeing.
Yeah. She was introduced as the focal piece that we as viewers were going to remember. So we're gonna get introduced to the other 3 later if they are like important to like a large degree. And I think that's basically all that's really changed on the board, right? We have new
Oh.
characters on either side, and that's what we
There's
rolled
one
with.
thing I want to go over here.
Sure
And
thing.
I've really forgotten to bring it up, so I'm gonna have to do this in editing for the overlay. I'm gonna send you one image at a time, Griff. Show you how horrifying slow playing an incident can be. So
Uh,
here is picture number 1. Are you gonna describe to the audience what you're seeing?
I'm seeing a giant column of energy, presumably a laser beam shot, going directly through the middle of what I can only guess is a civilian starliner.
Okay. Here's the second image.
This is everything is now starting to explode as the energy is imparting into its surrounding, and immediately the hug around the child gets even tighter.
Okay, now what are you seeing?
Oh, I'm seeing the blood splatters, is what I'm seeing. They're still alive for one more frame right there. Maybe they'll get out of this okay. I have high hopes. Oh no, they're not actually around anymore. That is a head departed from a body.
It certainly is.
The kid first. Oh my word, that is some extra fine detail. Oh,
Oh,
there you go. Oh gosh, that's just the scalp now. Oh no.
yes, that is frame for frame. Ellie's mother trying to protect her daughter from the incoming explosion. Ellie's mother being ripped in half by the explosion, and Ellie being decapitated with her head coming right at the screen before being enveloped in the explosion, which is something you wouldn't notice if you didn't investigate the brief flash on screen for just way too long.
Yeah, the brutality of it in 5 frames, and if you're the censor, you didn't notice it. But we did at least see her for enough frames to go, oh, she's definitely dead. Oh, gosh, this is even worse now. I'm going to think about this for a while.
Yeah, it's like, god damn, they decapitated her in an explosion. It wasn't hard enough, just like, oh, here's the adorable little girl that you've been, on the trip with this whole time. Kira didn't see that. Nobody saw that that's alive except us, the viewers.
Well, only we get to be traumatized by this forever. So I think I only got one more bit here, and that's so we got a green line actually between Flay and Kira here, don't we? Wouldn't you say maybe it's a red line?
There should be a green line. Is there not a green line?
There is. It's on the right-hand side, and I think it just merges with the friend group.
No, I think
Everyone's friends with Birdie, by the way, so. Is it a green line? Is it a red line? Or do we need like a new purple line for an it's complicated? Because I don't think we can simplify this down anymore.
I mean, it's certainly a thing. But, I mean, they are fucking.
That doesn't mean much in this context, I think. That only makes it worse. Or more complicated.
Look, my problem is that post, God, what was the last fight? I don't know where Flay is coming from anymore. It very much seems like it's a manipulation thing, but it very also seems like she might be becoming pseudo-attached as well. So it's like, I can't tell if it's her manipulation anymore, or if she's like, like weirdly now in it. Like I was trying
She's
to.
entirely in it for the hate sex. Yeah.
No, not even that. I mean, like I was trying to get him killed on the battlefield at first, but at some point I started to love him. Some weird fucked up shit. I can't tell.
All I can remember is that it does not get any simpler. We are in it for the long haul with that one. So, I think on that note, that's where we're going to go ahead and start watching for the day.
Well, no, Griff, I don't know what you're doing, but there's a whole section called Theta's Thoughts that we haven't even touched on.
Right. Theta's thoughts. So let's go ahead and get in your thoughts. Theta, what's on your mind?
See, the hard segue to the board is really throwing everything off.
Oh, my bad.
So, Bad Girl suggested taking Kira's parents hostage in order to get him to fight. I'm not crazy, right? At least the hostage taker is adequately named Bad Girl. On a larger appraisal of the situation, it does kind of feel like her position is one where those with abilities and skills that are useful should be made to serve. I have to wonder then if that means the history of coordinators is one of second-class citizenry rather than the next step of evolution, like it seems that George meant it to be. I know Flay has been our point of reference character for anti-coordinator racism, but it feels like Bad Girl's reasoning behind forcing Kira to serve might extend out further than just this incident.
I think there's two perspectives. One, I think you called out a good one, which is like, hey, how'd this all go down for them? This might actually be a good hint to like, oh, this is probably why they're fighting a war at this point. And it would make perfect sense at that point. It's like, all right, if they're just going to use us as tools and expendable, not treat us as people, we're just going to fight. Cool. They're completely justified in that. At least that so far. I think the other side of it is currently we have a question of, do you ask Superman to go to war? Kind of question. It's like, Superman could clearly turn the tide of the war. Are you going to ask him to help?
You do. That's what they did in Watchmen. That's what Watchmen is. It's the hard, weird take on if superheroes were real, and they asked Dr. Manhattan.
America and Superman punching Hitler, so it's like it's obviously been a trope.
They send Dr. Manhattan to Vietnam to fight the war with the other superheroes that they've sent to Vietnam. That's why the comedian is there.
Right. So it's like, at least from that perspective of, hey, we have someone with superhuman ability here. Shouldn't we ask them to do this? Like, okay, but usually when you're dealing with all three of those situations, Cap, Captain America, Superman, and Dr. Manhattan, they ask them, and it seemed voluntary for the most part. Here, they're trying to explicitly compel them because, like, no, we can't let Superman get away.
Well, I think the more poignant example in sci-fi would be Babylon 5.
Uh,
Psychics versus normal humans. That comes more to play in like end of season 4.
mhm.
But the government regulates psychics to the point where we've put them in this organization that has to serve us basically. It just so happens that that organization now is trying to also win its place in the evolutionary chain.
Right. God, now I'm drawing parallels between this and Babylon 5 a little bit in my head. That's funny. I'm gonna go ahead and put that into the pocket for later when I actually watch Babylon 5.
I was saying, I said this is just like Babylon 5, and you said, that's funny, I'm drawing parallels between this and Babylon 5. So that's just what I said, Griff.
No, okay. What I'm saying is I'm gonna remember that when I watch it.
Maybe you don't remember that one video we have on the channel called the Babylon 5 Minute, where we used to have a guy who was watching Babylon 5 tell us about his adventures in watching Babylon 5.
We're gonna bring back the Babylon Minute, that's for sure.
I mean, if you want to
What
watch
else is in your
Babylon
mind?
5, I'd be down. Although we'd be competing with somebody that we actively talk to all the time. When Lycus asks what they are really fighting against, questioning the motives of war, I appreciate that after she leaves, Rao twists the point around to mention to Athrun how Yazak's been injured, and he best put some effort in lest that be him next. It's a rather effective flip of Kira's own motivations to protect his friends.
Yeah, this is kind of a little bit more twisting his arm and like means like you better fight or we'll hurt him again. Though I don't think Ra was explicitly trying to get people killed. Like he does want to keep soldiers, I think.
I mean,
But no,
unfortunately, you'd be the one to know.
You could definitely write him to be more Darth Vader-ish, where it's just like, aha, let's see, who do we have here? Daraka, Elsman, you have failed me for the last time. And then just force crush him or something.
Well, I mean, to be fair, Vader does that to people in command. Vader's not like whipping around stormtroopers left and right. He didn't care about the rank and fodder.
I think he does do that every now and then, but I think given the existence of the Clone Wars, Vader's relationship with the rank and file is more complicated.
Except that stormtroopers are not clone troopers. Stormtroopers are actually volunteers.
Mm-hmm.
Clone troopers were discontinued. Mostly, I think they were killed by the end of their reign because they end up going crazy.
Yup. Or just like aging really fast. I think by the end of the Clone Wars cartoon, like everybody has beards. They're already like equivalently 60 to 70.
Despite Ellie's death, which was the most sobering thing to have happened across all 4 episodes we watched that day,
yeah,
I still have to say that the civilians getting off the Archangel went more smoothly than it did when with them getting off of White Base. Remember, Char shot some people there too, so it wasn't exactly bloodless either. Also, Ellie fucking died, so who the hell do I have to be afraid? Sorry, this is another case of I didn't write this in English. So who the hell do I have to afraid for in OG Gundam from now on?
if
I feel like I was like running up to the long jump, and then I tripped over my own foot and then kicked myself in the head. I think what I mean to say is who the hell do I have to be afraid for now? And then I wrote a bunch of extra words.
Right. Here, like, our entire civilian presence is gone. We don't have anyone to, like, flash back to and go, oh, the soldiers' actions are now affecting them, like, maybe we did in the other one. Here, they're already dead. We have escalated. So with nothing else to lose, things just get worse, I guess.
Okay. Just a weird side note, but when Admiral Halberton crossed the hangar to talk to the kids, he shoves
Yeah.
Bad Girl to the side hard enough that she grunts as though she'd been hit in the gut. And that's where his hand hits her. So imagine her reeling in the back of that scene.
Just constantly while there's like just this nice friendly talk going on, Bad Girl curled over around her chest, just spinning in the background. Yeah, no, I that'd be a great edit to put in.
It's just a weird addition of, noise to the scene. Because it's like, if he just, like, pushed her, or there was no sound at all, he just went like, eh. It was nothing. But she goes, ah! Like she just got hit.
I'm racking my brain to imagine, like, what does it mean? Does this mean that the Admiralty recognizes things she's done and is, like, explicitly spiting her? Or is he just, like, a complete doofus who doesn't think about anyone? I don't know what to think about it.
Admiral Hoffman really seems like a good guy in the time that we get to know him. However, he did mention in an angry tone that the people seeking concessions were essentially foolish. And I have to wonder if that doesn't put him in the same camp as Atherin's father, outwardly seeming to seek the good of their side, but at the end of the day, pressing for the war to continue despite the efforts of their own faction's peacemakers. I mean, at the end of the day, he was the major driving force for developing new weapon systems and not diplomacy.
I think that's a good perspective to take, and like it's good to like remember that characters in the show can show one face to the people who are actively like doing what they want, and then a different face to like people they are antagonistic to here. In this case, of course, the kids who are actively signing on to be his soldiers now versus people who are telling him it's like, no, you can't keep sacrificing child soldiers.
Well, I mean, he's dead now, so.
Everybody's dead.
Dave. So I made a lot of wisecracks about the stupidity of Flay's joining the military and about her having to go through a recruitment process. Well, at first it seemed like Flay was using a loophole against them to stay in the military, given that they said every one of the kids that served in combat were being considered volunteer soldiers to let them avoid charges of being civilians fighting in a war zone, and thus were given discharge papers so that they could leave the ship as civilians again. But Flay was never given one of them. She never donned a uniform or held a station, so she never received a paper for such a discharge, as it wasn't needed. So, if we were to think that she is a normal example and isn't receiving special treatment, then I guess we now know exactly the problem they have with all of their inexperienced youths on the front lines. All you have to do is ask to get in, and you get a uniform and a rank. Not even boot camp is necessary.
You want to pick up a gun? Just go ahead and do it. Training? What's that? Oh gosh, yeah, no wonder they're losing the war. It's not that they're fighting people with superhuman abilities, it's that they're fighting people who have training.
That's exactly it.
Oh gosh. You got anything else there?
Before Kira showed up to suit up, and get into the strike, I'm pretty sure Flay was in the locker room considering getting into the strike herself. Thus the relief in seeing Kira back. I legit think she thought he had left, since no part of her display before had been performative in a way that he would have seen. Not unless she was acting on information Sai told her that we never saw or heard. Either way, it all just seems to have worked out for her. The follow-up relationship is just a mess for me to untangle, as we covered before we were looking at the board.
Yeah.
Also, the ship is at level 1 battle stations, which means you are required to go to your posting and await orders, and Flay is in uniform, just floating around the now empty halls. Real conviction to fight there, Flay.
She has not been assigned anywhere, I think. I think everyone just forgot to put her somewhere.
You might know. Remember, this is after the recruitment process of sign up, got rank. She's wearing a uniform.
Here's an idea. Here's an idea. You mentioned the idea Flay is ready to get into the strike. I think that might actually be accurate, and the fact Kira comes back and does it means that she's been assigned to a position that someone else is doing. She cannot sit in the chair. Not without more sex scenes, but she can't go to the chair. She has nowhere to go. She hasn't been reassigned in that entire hour. That I think that brings it all together, actually.
Yeah, for you, maybe.
Maybe.
Leaves doubt left in my mind.
Fair.
In Sai's defense, Kira could have just said no when Flay came to him. Even if no one knew Sai and Flay were engaged, it was obvious they were a couple. Even I doubt that Kira was blind enough not to have seen that. Which means he's willfully cucking his friend. They came to his aid when it seemed like everyone had turned their back on him when his status as a coordinator was revealed.
I think in the next time from last time, we actually saw a scene of those two interacting. I think we're getting some of that this episode to resolve. So that's going to be funny to keep track of.
During the space battle, the Ptolemos gets sunk. Rip, Gundam 00. You might not realize that the Ptolemos is one of the names of one of the ships that gets destroyed in the battle, but they say sunk.
I missed that one.
Also, I appreciate that Atherin went claw mode to fly at the Gamma, clearly trying to rescue it before Rao calls him back. Nicole and Atherin clearly cared about Zellman and the crew. On the opposite end, it's going to be hard for me to ever forgive Yazak for Ellie's death, and damn the animators for that too. As I've already shown you before, apparently this is where I've typed it out. I replayed the scene at 0.25 speed, and you can actually see the explosion travel its way up the rows of seats. Ellie's mom tries to shelter her daughter. Then the explosion hits them, and the mom gets cut in half, and Ellie's head flies off towards the camera, separate her body. I mean, that was too much.
Yeah, I think we have our official, this guy is the biggest villain character right there. If he ever figures this out, his reaction is going to entirely change our perspective on him. If he just goes, so what, they were still Earthlings, yeah, no, he's a villain, and he's going to die that same episode.
Well, I mean, my explanation in the moment was that he had said himself that he thought they were fleeing soldiers.
Right. If he sticks to that, and then he hears, no, those were civilians, and he has a negative reaction to it, it's he can, end up being saved and come back, I think.
Is Gundam Seed a harem anime? Kira is with Lacus, Flay, and Cagalli in the intro sequences, and one of them has Flay looking jealous or nervous at Kira.
I think during at least one episode where we had a lot of the relationship drama happening, I was going to suggest that as a thought, but no, that's too silly. I'm not going to do that.
Well, the intro sequence seems to suggest it.
He has 3 different options, and I feel like half of the point is asking which one is he going for. Is he going to stick with Crazy Flay?
Well, does he want a Zaft girl? Does he want an Orb girl? Or does he want an Earth girl?
We got the whole range. We got everybody.
Looks like Rao is getting called back again due to his failures, but they dropped that there is a larger plan afoot that our Zaft side could get involved with once he gets back.
There we go. Yeah, amp it up. But I guess this goes back to Rao does what he wants, and then he goes back home to apologize.
Alright, final thought. We saw in the flashback / history episode that neutron jammers attached to drills were dropped on the planet. Andrew mentions it later as well and says that anything with electronic waves would be affected. Then Delita? Sorry, I've forgotten I guess it's the kid with the or not the kid. The other guy with the glasses. Sorry, my mind is now racing to remember the difference between the 2 guys who sit in the upper chamber of White Base versus the guy with the glasses who sits here in the chamber on Archangel.
I'm not sure I've seen any of these petty officers talk to the main cast, actually.
Yeah,
I don't
they do.
remember it ever happening.
Bad Girl talks to them constantly. Remember, I think that was probably the scene. No, it wasn't this time. But she does talk to them this time, where she like hands him the water bottle, and he tries to float it next to him. But oh, Earth's gravity.
Yeah, we had that scene last time.
But then Delita says radio waves and fission-based energy are also adversely affected. Now, I could have just looked it up, but I personally think that would be cheating. What do you think these devices are doing? I wrote before remembering that you've seen this show before.
Well, this is definitely not a detail I remember offhand. So if they say anything more about it, all right. So if these are the way they're advertised is that they're supposed to be doing some sort of constant EMP thing. I'm going to forget the name and what it's supposed to realistically do. I'm going to go with what the text says, right? If these things are supposed to be constantly doing some kind of EMP thing that stops nuclear devices from going off, then everything else shouldn't be working either, is going to be my conclusion. Nothing electronic should work anywhere. That's the best that I got right there from what they've told us. Which, I guess it's weird that, like, the ship and the Gundam, then, are the mobile suits or radios are all working just fine. Maybe they found a way to harden all the systems in some way. But making anything new must be an absolute pain, because it'll just short out as you're creating it. That's what I think. What about you?
Well, I mean, you made the decision early in your argument to disregard what it was called. Because my original argument would have started off, well, neutrons don't react that way. So,
If we were just going off with the realistic side of it, if it's just a bunch of
the
neutrons,
realistic side of it, Griff, is that we're being
Yeah.
pelted by neutrons constantly and all the time. And they have literally, absolutely no effect on us.
it would
So-
be a grade of radiation so low, nothing changes.
I mean, to be fair, I don't
Especially
actually
if they're
know what the
750
effect
feet
of
underground.
concentrated neutrons would do, because I've only
Mhm.
experienced the idea. I think the only time, all the time, maybe 3 times in sci-fi literature have I ever read about neutrons being used for anything. One comes from a time when we thought that they actually did travel faster than light, which, by the way, they don't.
Yep.
Because that got refuted. So that sci-fi novel is off, where they were used for transmissions for
Right.
communication. The other one does not really apply anywhere because it's the flash forward incident from the book Flash Forward, and fuck the TV show, is instigated by a large neutrino burst from like a supernova that happened, however many hundreds of thousands of years ago, finally hitting us during the same time that the CERN is conducting a experiment to discover the Higgs boson particle for the first time, which, by the way, the book was written before the actual Higgs boson was actually discovered. So
Right.
So the combination of these two things causes the flash forward incident where everybody on Earth passes out for like 5 minutes and gets a vision of the future.
I gotta say, like, it does sound so silly because, like, okay, a neutron could probably do something. If you have, like, a lot of them coming at you, you might still have something happen to you. If it's a bunch of neutrinos, nothing is going to happen. Nothing. Not possible. I think the comic X8 XKCD, which has a bunch of science stuff, put out like a what if of like, what if you got hit only by all the neutrinos of a supernova? And the best metaphor you can give for that is being knocked out by a bunch of feathers. Maybe it can happen, but you need a lot of them, and way more than you're getting, than you'll ever get.
This is the idea, though, is that neutrinos pass through the Earth constantly, but that's what they do, is they just pass through matter. They don't interact. Well, I guess sometimes they do, but it's very rare that it ever interacts with actual matter.
Yeah, there's not a lot of forces actually drawing them towards other things, and there's and they're small enough that they just get past.
Oh, actually, I think there's the fourth one that I can remember. I think it's either a handful of gods or God. It's one of my two favorite books about the destruction of Earth and our follow up,
Hmm.
where it's the whole Dark Forest thing, but the fucking aliens are tricking us. They land a bunch of different alien craft that are like, I don't know who the fuck those other aliens are. Because it's like Von Neumann probes use like one of the moons of Jupiter to create all the shit that they throw
Yeah.
at us. And it's all to distract us from something they didn't even have to distract us from, in that they create a neutron bomb based entirely. They send a large mass of neutrons at the gravity well of our planet, and then they follow it up with a large mass of anti-neutrons. And since neutrons don't interact with anything, the only thing they're going to interact with is the other neutrons that aren't antimatter. So they circle, and it's just like a time bomb of when are they going to hit the gravity well itself, and at which point
All
the Earth is
right.
just going to fucking explode.
It's like, yeah, no, that seems excessive, but I guess like if you can assume maybe the civilization is able to detect these things, maybe yeah, you distract them, or maybe you just draw their attention that something is happening.
Well, the idea, I think, given the second book,
Hmm.
the idea with the whole Dark Forest thing is that you don't want to leave evidence of yourself. So maybe this is just me speculating now, well after the fact, because I never thought about this before. Maybe they're leaving evidence of other alien races in case anybody does come along the remains of Earth and be like, "Who did this?" Because the concept in this series is that there are a lot of dark forest predator species out there who
Hmm.
only just destroy anybody that they find. But there's also this collective of other survivors of this who say, you got destroyed by them, now it's your right to seek vengeance.
Yeah.
So they send out like these crafts to destroy other people. So I guess the idea is that if you live in that universe, you want to leave evidence of people who don't exist. Who did this? One of these random alien crafts that are here?
Oh, that's even funnier, actually. Creating your own archaeological event.
Well, yeah, but that's the only other neutron thing I can think of, and I think I've
Hmm.
always loved that idea of just swirling neutrons and anti-neutrons, not interacting with anything but
Hmm.
themselves. But when they come together, that's it.
Yeah. All right. So since that was the last thought, I think we're all done and we're good to go. So I say let's go ahead and get watching. But before we do, be sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and comment down below to feed that algorithm. On top of all that, if you want to watch more shows like this, unfiltered, uncensored, and uncut, as well as some early access stuff, you can go ahead and follow us over on the Patreon. It's just $5 a month, but no pressure. It's all to support the challenge. It's a little bit extra.
Hit the link down below. Join the Discord. Let me know what your favorite hard sci-fi novel is.
You know, I think this is also the most effective I've seen helicopters be in a Gundam series.
I don't know, problematically or confusingly for my memory. I am also watching Macross at the same time, which doesn't use helicopters. Or at least currently uses helicopters. I don't know if it continued to.
You know, for something with four legs for stability, for staying on the ground at all times, it sure can leap into the air way more than it should.
You said a positive, and then you were like, I'm confused by this positive.
Why is it in the air if it's a land-based vehicle?
Hydraulics?
I guess.
I was thinking of asking, why is that car jumping off of the ground? I'm not a fan of this new opening's hard cut. There's no transition whatsoever.
Yeah, no, I really expected a music cut right there or something.
I also don't feel bad about talking over the entire opening sequence there, because it was literally just what happened in the last minute of last
Right, yeah,
episode.
we didn't get anything else there.
I'm
I
also
mean,
not
this
a fan
riff
of
is
the
nice.
music either. Yeah, we already know you suck at music, so
I know I do. I've got to be here with the contrary opinion this time.
Look, I have been watching a lot of retro anime on my own lately.
Mm-hmm.
And I have been going through, like, the whole spectrum of, here's what 60s anime soundtrack sounds like, here's what 80s anime... Like, OG, Astro Boy, 60s,
Yeah.
heard that, not a fan. But, I mean, it's of its time.
Yeah.
Then we got our 80s stuff, well, we don't. I guess only I do. Which is like, shit, now I'm forgetting. Magic Knight Ray Earth, which has a weird guitar riff to it, which is amazing. Love it. Then we go to 90s, Macross. It's okay. I guess I'm getting to learn to like it.
Mm-hmm.
To early 2000s, Raw Zaphon, for example.
Yeah.
Maybe Fate? Is that early 2000s?
I guess what would you say is your favorite decade out of those? 80?
Yeah, so far. But I always loved
right.
the 80s. 80s is the best era. Everyone will always point out the bad stuff that happened in the 80s. Well, bad stuff happens in every era. The good stuff was better than the good stuff happening in every other era.
Bad stuff is happening right now.
Man, you put a hat on that girl, and I think I'd recognize her.
That'll be hilarious if that's exactly the case here.
Mikata と判断されますか？銃口は向けられてないわね。ともかく話してみましょう。その気はあるようだから、うまく転べばいろいろと助かるの。あとお願い。
Don't do anything negative.
Oh, I always love it when, like, a character like is alone suddenly after saying something and just immediately changes emotions.
Don't worry, I'm sure with your white and pink outfit you won't be standing out at all against the sand dunes.
Yeah. You know, the captain's loaded a gun. I wanna lay down a bet she uses it.
Well, this guy is armed with a bow and arrow against what?
That arrow's made out of gundamium, I'll have you know.
What was the rebel group in Witch from Mercury called again?
I don't remember.
I feel like they're inspired. Witch from Mercury, I mean, was inspired by this, not the other way around, obviously.
Unless there's a time traveler.
We already covered that before. That's his char-like aspect. He shot down 5 Jins.
X105 ストライクと呼ばれる地球軍の新型機動兵器のプロトタイプだ。
Because even our Desert Dawn leader here kind of looks like the Witch from Mercury leader.
Yeah, I see the vibe you're getting.
Honestly, I would care less about all the human guys with guns around and maybe care more about the strike with its massive gun.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's like, alright, if they fire it at me, they're gonna kill, like, their captain and the best pilot in the entire Federation, too.
What are you mad for? He saved your life. I think.
お前
Don't mess with me, I've got a bow and arrow.
Getting close range with the bow and arrow, too.
This is exactly what I said about the Artemis.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, never mind. Maybe they played it back. I don't know. You remember how Sai gets hit in the face, but Kira here doesn't?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Kira is too cool and too badass to get hit unless he wants to. That's the point that I feel like is being made constantly.
He's a coordinator. He's a superhuman. He gets to do what he wants.
Would you mind explaining to us all, though, how you fell from orbit and survived?
Ah, well, that's too long for the report here, so we're gonna go ahead and bypass it.
Well, those are fine too. Remember, they didn't explain it in the episode. It was just a offhand comment at the end. Oh, and they managed to land.
They are banged up, at least.
You might remember everything else that fell from orbit fucking melted and dissolved.
Yeah, a little banged up.
What did they get banged up by? They hit a bunch of birds coming down? That's not melting damage.
That's how he lost his eye, Theta.
No, remember he got... That was a fight, Griff. It was a fight that, like, exploded the cockpit. I also appreciate you. That's how he lost his eye. Instantly shows he has both eyes.
Yeah.
You'd figure if we have the whole reactive camo thing going on with, like... That was rude. With the whole other one, I can't remember. Was it the Blitz? That's not the Blitz that has it, is it?
It might be, actually. Let's find out for you. It is, in fact, the Blitz. You were right.
That you would have put that on the Archangel and not a fucking Gundam. So the Archangel could be camouflaged in space or on the ground or wherever it needs to go.
I know in Star Wars, their excuse for cloaking is that, like, oh, you need this rare element, so we don't have a lot of it left. That's why we only do small things. Maybe you got the same excuse here.
No, remember, it's a reactive armor thing. It's not a material. It's literally just something we built into the armor.
船のことも助かりました。私も話が聞きたい、サイーブ。でもここじゃな。連中ならキャンプに入れても問題ないと思うが。
彼女は？俺たちの勝利の女神だ。へえ。で、名前は？あ？女神様じゃ知らなきゃ悪いだろう。カガリユラだ。あんたたちはアラスカに行きてえってことだがな。
By way of Africa.
Yeah, they're a bit on the opposite side of the planet.
さっきは悪かったな。殴るつもりはなかった。わけでもないが、あれは弾みだ。許せ。何がおかしい？いや、だってさ。
It's actually funny seeing a character apologize for that after watching, like, the original series Gundam, where no one does.
Because there's a difference. Amuro needed to get hit.
Yeah, here people are just angry and recognize, like, wait, no, that was spontaneous.
I want to redub that whole scene with tickle, 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 tickle.
なのにこんなものに乗って現れようとはな。おまけに今は地球軍か。
いろいろあったんだよ。いろいろとね。君こそなんでこんなところにいるんだ？
Sorry, the next cutaway would be, but I got to have sex. You know the Lonely Island crew song?
Oh,
Destroyed,
guys, still keeping an eye on things.
destroyed an entire colony. Got to have sex. Had to murder my best friend.
Alright.
Got to have sex.
Just so you know, Bogai is named Leonir.
Yeah, no, he's on the board.
There we go.
Don't
Just figured that'd be important to say while we're all making fun of him.
say, don't keep looking stuff up.
だが3日前にビクトリア宇宙港が落とされちまったからこっち奴らの勢いは強い。
ビクトリアは3日前。
あらら。ここアフリカ共同体はもともとプラント寄りだ。頑張っ
Oh
た
gosh.
南部の南アフリカ統一機構もついに地球軍に見捨てられちまったんだろう。ラインは日に日に変わっていくぜ。そんな中で頑張るね。あんたらは。
I mean, we already knew these guys were on Earth because the very first thing we saw in the very first episode. Also, why did we rename the ocean? It just caught me off guard.
But yeah, you know, you just need to change it every couple hundred years, right?
あの船は大気圏内ではどうなんだ。
そう高度は取れない。
山脈が越えられねえって。
Equator or the what?
ジブラルタルの突破。
What's the other name for the equator?
この戦力で無茶言うなよ。頑張って航海へ抜けてインド洋から太平
The
洋へ。
Ethiopian Ocean?
太平洋。
Oh, that's still near the Pacific,
国境
though.
の確保なしに一気に行ける距離ではありませんね。
太陽州連合は完全にザフトの勢力圏だろ。赤道連合はまだ中立か。おいおい、気が早いな。もうそんなとこの心配か。ここバナディアにはレセップスがいるんだぜ。あ、頑張って抜けてってそういうこと。
ダコスタです。失礼します。
Oh, so they really are just playing Homeworld 2.
Yeah.
That's the fucking Homeworld 2 base.
ませんか。
そんなことわざわざ言いに来たの？
いえ、そういうわけでは。出撃準備完了しました。
はい。あんまり
Yeah, I don't know what the yellow uniform stands for because it's not been in anything that I've
しょ
seen.
うがないか。
あ、
Maybe it's just camo.
いいね。
No,
今度のには淡い粉を
I don't
少
think
しして
so.
みたん
I
だ
think I
が
can spot this guy.
これもいい。
That's okay. The purple Zoids are also camouflage.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think anything else matches up other than the fact that at least they painted their carrier thing the same color as the sand.
なんか話がどんどん変な方向に行ってる気がする。
はあ、砂漠だなんてさ。はあ、こんなことならあの時残るなんて言うんじゃなかったよ。
でもあそこでシャトル乗ってたら今頃死んでんぜ。
これからどうなるんだろうね、私たち。キラは
Someone's about to get hit.
She's not even paying attention to anyone else with that look.
Look, I told you already, I blame Kira just as much. He's willfully cucking his friend. The only other person who stood up for him when the whole racism shit came up. By the way, who'd he stand up to him, for him against? Flay! So,
Yep. Yeah, maybe there's a reason that relationship dissolved between Flay and Sai then.
All I'm saying is, Sai's position is I did all the right stuff, and now I'm by myself.
接着圧いじったんで、その調整とかですよ。
ああ、なるほどね。便利なパイロットだよな、お前って。なんかがぜんやる気じゃねえかよ、ヤマト少尉。
That's when he earned his nickname, Jesus Yamato.
強くなければこの船は。
かがり、何やってんだ。お前の食えよ。
ああ、うん。地球軍のモビルスーツのパイロットを見かけたか？
いや、何か用か。
用ってほどのことじゃないが、また名前を聞くのを忘れたんだ。
え？知り合いなんじゃなかったのかよ。
ああ、そうだな。知り合いといえば。
Which is it?
I can't tell them that she was on an orb, or whatever the fuck you call them.
I guess so. She's got more going on and hasn't explained it yet.
What, that I'm the only girl here in this entire encampment?
もう寝静まる時間ですね。
そのまま永久に眠りについてもらおう。なんてことは。
What a reveal, huh?
Some people consider this night.
Yeah, I say what a reveal. Maybe we could have looked up and noticed that.
ほら、早く行ってきたまえ。
はっ。
No way. No way did that shark make that dive.
Not impossible. You ever seen none of those truck videos where they literally almost go, you know?
It's still silly though.
Like 75-degree angle drops. They climb downhill.
It's harem fight time.
Why would that stop Sai?
フレイに話があんだ。キラには関係ないよ。
関係なくないわよ。私、ゆうべはキラの部屋にいたんだから。
Play Ray to do emotional damage and Cagalli just gets caught up in it.
I just don't get what the point is.
I'm not sure either.
It's like, that literally has nothing to do with her I'm gonna make him fight until he dies thing, right?
It's just a harem drama.
Unless he was like, I don't care who he fights with. Maybe Sai will kill him. Yes, these two events are the same.
It's called burning down the whole relationship, Theta.
どういうことだよ、フレイ。君？
どうだっていいでしょ。サイには関係ないわ。
That's what I'm saying. Kira's a dick.
どう見ても君が嫌がるフレイを追っかけてるようにしか見えないよ。なんだと？ゆうべも戦闘で疲れてるんだ。もうやめてくんない？
Here's the problem. Sai can't react to this, otherwise everybody on the fucking station's gonna be like, oh, never mind, doesn't matter, can't hit Kira unless he wants you to hit him.
Instant move. Love it.
You can't say something like that and not have everyone instantly like, oh fuck, he's a coordinator and hate.
Even Play's realizing what she's doing.
No, I don't think so. I think she's playing it up. I fucking defended you when nobody else would, you ass!
誰も気にもしないくせに。
At most, I said maybe coordinators just sing better. That's the worst I said.
I love how deep that pit is being dug around Kira.
I just fucking hate this.
Look, they're teenagers. It's gonna happen.
Well, as I was saying in the moment, if Sai tries to act out against Kira, everyone's gonna be like, how dare you try to attack the person who's defending us? Because it's like, Kira has made himself too important now to actually act anything against. But we didn't even pull that. We didn't even pull that angle. We pulled the angle of Kira's a coordinator. He can kick anyone's ass, which adds on to what I said before about the other scene where Cagalli goes to hit him and can't initially, because it goes right back to the Artemis scene where the sergeant or lieutenant or whatever tries to hit him, and he's like, "Oh, can't hit me," because you can't hit Kira unless he lets you.
I'm just like vibing on how horrible the relationship is, because Kira's excuse is like, she's the only person who asks what I think, what's going on in the middle of a battle. She's the only person who cares about what I think, and Flay's only there caring about what he thinks so that he gets back into the Gundam again.
I mean, it's just not true. So it's not fucking true either. Hold on, next time.
Alright.
レジスタンスの基地に入ったアークエンジェルが、その行く手には砂漠の虎バルトフェルドが立ちふさがる。空を焦がす炎は繰り返される戦いへののろしか。暴走する心は容赦なく敵を撃ち、放火は新たな火種を生む。次回機動戦士ガンダムシードペイバック、必殺の一撃で切り裂けガンダム。
But I'm gonna say now before any commenter scan. Yes, I understand that we paused and stopped for the next time on more than we ever did anything else in the whole episode. But
we only do it just so that we have an idea of what to talk about next.
My point is that Sai and God, what is her name? It's not Frau. She's the Frau of the show, though. What's her name in this show?
Figure it out for you. Is it Moralia?
No.
Is it? Well, it's not Flay. We've already been there. There's
Ha.
No...
It's Ha.
Where is she?
She's Moralia. You said Moralia. I said she's like Frau, and you didn't give me a Frau name. You gave me Moralia. I don't know her as Moralia. I know her as Ha.
Okay. It was just confusion. Got it.
Sai and Ha are the ones that helped him when nobody else would to save the other coordinator, which is very much right in line with this whole motif of nobody understands me and what I'm going through. Sai is the one that stood up for him when it's all like, we fucking hate coordinators, so there's like this, and this, and everyone else went quiet. Sai, I literally said this in the Theta's thoughts. Sai is the guy who stood up for him and is now getting willfully cucked by Kira. And now, it's not even like a joke that he's being willfully cucked. Kira is now like, I could hurt you if I wanted to. Get the fuck out of my way. I'm gonna keep sleeping with this girl.
The more damning line was like, it's obvious to everybody else that you're chasing someone who's not interested. It's just like, wow, yeah, no, that is the... I think that text best explains it, because like it's the manipulation of the entire scenario, right? He can't do anything because anything he does will look bad.
Well, that's what I was indicating, that he can't attack Kira. That was what I was saying. I don't think that's the worst line. I think the worst line is still that I could hurt you if I wanted to. Because that's literally him embodying the entire coordinator thing that he's been pushing back against. He literally just said, I'm a fucking coordinator, what you gonna do? And it's like, how is Sai supposed to take that when coming from the whole coordinators are fighting us thing?
I mean, like, I can only think that the most rational thing to have done would have been just to say what you were going to say to Flay in front of Kira, but I don't know what he was actually thinking, so clearly they're teenagers with high emotions. It was never going to go that way.
There is no rational thing, because they hit him immediately with "we're sleeping together," and it's like, you're instantly going from I don't understand what's happening to let's talk to
literally compared to a bombshell. Yeah, no, it was never gonna happen. Oh gosh. So aside from the teenage drama, which our other characters also now part of, what else do we want to like focus on this episode? What's like the big thing that happened aside from just like, I guess, the Archangel hanging out with the rebels now?
They renamed the Atlantic Ocean.
Yeah, I don't know what that's about. Or maybe it's just that section of the ocean. I don't know.
That section of the ocean that's still called an ocean?
Yeah.
There is no subsection of the Atlantic Ocean that is itself an ocean. That's the description of the ocean. Otherwise, it becomes a sea. A sea is a subsection of an ocean.
Maybe there's just something weird going on there that hasn't been described yet. I don't know. But I suppose next time we're going straight into a big fight where, just to be clear, Waldfield has destroyed an entire civilian town for no other reason than to draw rebels out, right?
I don't know what his reasoning was.
Well, I mean, he still destroyed a obviously civilian town, right?
Seems that way.
Yeah, no, I think we could go ahead and put him up on the war criminal board now for sure. And everyone is going to go out for revenge, so I don't think he's
There's
long for
a
this world.
difference between when I'm calling out war crimes on some people's side, not others.
Yeah.
I'm not calling out people who are obviously committing war crimes and don't like label themselves as good guys. I'm calling out the people that are claiming to be the good guys that then commit war crimes.
Yeah, I guess what I'm doing here is I just want to draw attention to this like soft personaed person who is committing terrible actions casually while drinking coffee. It's like, oh, okay, this is actually as pure evil as we've gotten so far. Outside of maybe Rao like going, it's like, I'm gonna go ahead and kill them after I've done this negotiation.
Okay, I'm making the stance here for anyone who's still in the comment section listening, that when I say bad girl has done a bad thing because she's doing war crimes, and here I'm going to describe for you all the reasons why logically this is a war crime and she shouldn't be doing it. I'm doing it because bad girl is supposed to be a good guy on the good guy side. I'm not making a comparison, so you don't have to go, but then Zaft does this. It's like, I don't care what Zaft fucking does. I don't have no qualms about putting Rao down as somebody who commits war crimes. I'm not... Rao doesn't say, I'm the good guy. Rao tricks people into doing things. I don't care. I'm saying the good guys, or the main characters of the show, who are supposed to be good guys, need to be called out, at least by the fan base, when they do bad shit. Otherwise, how are they different from Zaft? So if you're going to come in with the argument, but Zaft does this, cool. So you're saying the good guys are the same as the bad guys.
Oh yeah, I'm not even like drawing a comparison or what. I wasn't even making a point. I'm just kind of going, he's kind of been like in the background, like very quietly doing all of this. And like you can kind of blink and miss it if you weren't going, it's like, wait a second, that was a town he just destroyed for no reason.
I mean, I'm sure Rom will drink coffee too. What is it? There's like being personable and being evil aren't two different things.
Right, no, that's my point. If you're just focused on like, okay, I've only seen Waldfield, he seems nice and personable, maybe he's not that bad of a guy, and you just kind of blank on what he's doing, it's like, you could pass by on that. You could just miss it. That's the only point that I'm making. But yeah, I think that's all I got. Theta, you got anything more?
Not right now, no.
In that case, that's where we're going to go ahead and wrap up for today. This has been Stoneface Reactions, everybody. I'm Griffin. That's Theta, and we'll catch you next time. See you around. Hey everybody, thanks for watching another Stoneface Reactions. If you have an idea of another video we could go ahead and watch, go ahead and put it in the comments down below, and we'll add it to the wheel. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let us know what you thought about this video, and what parts you liked. And until then, we'll see you next time. Is this too goofy?